It's time for everyone's favourite video of the year. The one where I basically just want to pad time while I try and finish up all the stuff I've missed from the fall season. Basically, I just want to flick out a few recommendations on stuff, flick on some gameplay, and then flick the bean with all the time I've saved on editing. That was a sentence I just wrote, and I already wish I didn't. Like every year, I listed some anime that I wanted to watch at the end of last year, and I managed to get through all of them. Yay. The Galaxy Railways was quite enjoyable, I got a full video on that, so instead I want to talk about the other three, which I haven't really had a chance to mention. Starting with the 1997 Berserk. I haven't read the manga, but I really need to, considering it's one of the best manga of all time, if not the best manga of all time. But the soundtrack of the anime is now one of my favourites from anything. Characters are well done, but I still feel it's an incomplete adaptation, hence the desire to seek out the manga at some point. Gunbuster is sci-fi cheese, which I love, and it's evident that the creators loved it as well. The characters aren't the best, say, outside of Noriko, but this was evidently a passion project, and I'm glad it helped Gainax become what it became. Also, it's just great to watch some anime from the 80s every now and again. Kyokai no Kanata was one I only finished a week ago, and I bloody love it. Mirai, top waifu, but honestly all of the characters have good dialogue. Also, KyoAni doing action really well is much of a surprise to anyone anymore, and naturally it appears here. Next year, I hope to get through Joshiraku, Ergo Proxy, Space Battleship Yamato 2199, and Ping Pong the Animation. But as for stuff I watched this year that wasn't animated, I managed to go to the cinema a few times. My favourite experience was Another Round. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched that much of Mads Mikkelsen's acting work, or even Thomas Vinterberg's films, but this was great. Also, you can't argue that it's a warning against alcohol, since things only start going badly when they stopped drinking. Because I want to claim that I'm a little indie, I watched the film Deerskin, which was a lot of fun, if a little weird. Then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, there was the film Pig, which was Nicolas Cage doing his once-in-a-decade performance that proves he can act. This hit some unexpected emotional beats, which was weird for a film about Nicolas Cage as Kung Fu hermit Gordon Ramsay. But fuck being indie, I went to see No Time to Die, which was entertaining and a decent conclusion, but that being said, Ana de Armas was only in one scene then just fucks off out of the plot, which was disappointing. Also, only a few days ago, I went to see Dune, adapted the book really well, and looks bloody lovely if I do say so. Also, Hans Zimmer did something actually original with the score. Fuck me, those bagpipes sound good, although that isn't to downplay the throat singing that makes up the Sudoku chant. Speaking of classic sci-fi universes getting throat singing added to them and it sounding good, I played Jedi Fallen Order, which is my first Souls-like, because I'm a coward. Solid game, glad to see Respawn could do something that isn't an FPS. I tried both Subnautica games, both solid, create a decent balance between a world that you want to explore and a populace of said world that makes you want to stay in your base and cry. But speaking of shitting yourself, there was also the Resident Evil 2 remake, my first Resident Evil game. Decent level design, for most of it, seriously, fuck the Umbrella base. And equal parts horror and cheese, really actually helping with the B-movie feel to it all. Also, Mr. X gave it to me several times over. After it went cheap on Steam, I played Return of the Obra Dinn, a great puzzle game. Would recommend playing if you haven't already, even though it's one of those games that you can only play once. Also, you will feel so bloody smart after you complete the whole thing, even though, let's face it, you probably should have done it about 2 hours quicker than you did. And as I've mentioned many a time, I played Bioshock, Bioshock Infinite, and System Shock 2, all of which fantastic, but this is something I've gone into in depth on the videos I made about them. Speaking of those videos, the System Shock 2 mod video I made is probably one of my favourite videos from this year, as making the mod and then seeing how Droggerful reacted to it was so much fun. But the only reason that was allowed to happen is with huge thanks to Troggerful and every other contributor, especially Chmeez. I am so sorry, please don't hurt me. Other videos I'm proud of this year include the video I made about my EPQ. I had been waiting about a year to make it, and I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I also had a blast making the HoloLive themed date video, just because I got to make a load of shit puns. Believe me, Polkagesterone, that took about 5 days to come up with. On to some final bits of thanks for the year. Once again, Troggerful, because they've been really helpful with the growth on the channel, and also for creating some top quality streams over the past year, including several 24-hour streams that make me genuinely worried for their health. You also may have noticed there's bloody lovely artwork, which is now my channel icon, and what's weird is that I didn't have this commissioned. The artists just drew it on their Todd and allowed me to use it regardless, so massive big ups to them. they've changed their username several times, so if I give a name then it might be outdated. Instead, I'm just going to list their channel below and advise you all to visit it. I'm also leaving Troggerfol's Twitch in the description and the Bandcamp links to Astrophysics, whose synthwave version of Again is what I've been using as my outro for my videos since the beginning of 2020, and while their policy is that you can pay whatever and have use of it if credited, I don't think I paid enough the first time, so I'll be re-ratifying the use of the song with more payment to them next year. Now the final word from me. Last year I mentioned how this was the best comment I received in 2020. Well, now I'd like to tell you about the comment of the year 2021. I got this on an old vid from 2018, and in it I mentioned how a character is badass, and this person, they said the following. Because when I imagine the authority on badassery, I pictured this twig boy in a red snail mask who also likes Doctor Who and appears to live in a closet. Now, this is my favourite comment, and no, I'm not doing this because I'm going to turn around and be backhanded about it. No, this is a genuinely fucking hilarious comment. It made my day. And there's a good reason that I wanted to share it all with you now. Because at Christmas, you gotta have a good roast.